For the next 2 days, we're going to talk about dividing polynomials. And there's two ways that we can divide polynomials. We can do long division and we can do synthetic division. So today we're going to focus on long division, and then in the next lesson we'll do the synthetic division. So this is section 2.4. I'm going to say it's A because we're going to do long division today and synthetic tomorrow. And we are dividing polynomials. Getting excited on this, aren't we? And today we're going to focus on, I'm just going to put it over here, by long division. And you guys all remember how to do long division, right? So if we did, let's write it out the long way. 9,802 divided by 3, we would have, 3 and then 9,802, right? And then we went through 3 goes into 9 how many times? 3. 3 times 3 is 9, and then we're going to subtract those. And then we're going to get, drop down the 8. 3 goes into 8 twice. 2 times 3 is 6. We're going to subtract those. 8 minus 6 is 2. Drop down the 0. 3 goes into 20 how many times? 6 times. 6 times 3 is 18. We're going to subtract those and get another 2. And then we're going to drop down that 2 and get a 22. And 3 goes into 22 7 times. 7 times 3 is 21. And so we have a remainder of 1, and we would write it as 1 over 3, right? Remember all those good things? So let's go through some of the terminology of when it comes to our division. So I'm going to make like a little division symbol. And the stuff that is underneath that is called the dividend. I'll try and write neat for you guys. The part on the outside is called the divisor. The answer that you get is called the quotient. And then you may or may not have a remainder. Right? Sound good? Alrighty. So your dividend, so to get this number, it would be your divisor times your quotient and then adding on your remainder. That amount gives you what is underneath, or your divisor, right? So like on this problem, technically 3 times 3,267 and a third is going to give you 2,908, right? Good little review on that, huh? So now when it comes to polynomials, we can now try and divide some polynomials. So let's say we have x squared plus 10x plus 21 divided by x plus 3. Right? So polynomial, there's just more than one term going on. So this part is always our divisor, and this part is always our dividend. Right? So the divisor is the part that's on the outside, the dividend is the part in the inside, and we're going to find out the part that's on top, which is the quotient, right? So we would have x plus 3 on the outside divided by this whole thing, x squared plus 10x plus 21. Okay? So when we start to divide these, really the only part that you're kind of focusing on is the variable. You're really only figuring out, or you're focusing on the x. So you're trying to figure out like x times what is going to get you to x squared, or pretty close to it, right? Kind of like up here, you know, 3 times what's going to get you to 9, you know, 3 is, so 3 times 3 is 9, or something fairly close to it. So the same thing happens on this one. So, because we know that we have to, whatever our quotient is, remember our quotient times our divisor is going to give us our dividend, right? So we got to find out what times what, well, sorry, what times x is kind of going to get us to x squared, or close to it, right? So we know that it's going to be x, right? Where you put the x is your choice. Some people like to put it right up above because that's the part that they're working on. Some people like to move it over to where your x is above your x. It's a personal preference. For this one, I'll just throw it right here and we can go from there, right? So no different than in regular long division. Remember when this was a 3 and a 3, right? And we did 3 times 3 was 9. So the same thing happens, but we're multiplying by x. So x times x is x squared. So that part you do want to make sure you're lined up under an x squared. X times 3 is plus 3x. So plus 3x. And then when we do long division, we're going to subtract these. X squared minus x squared, that goes away. And then we have 10 minus 3, which is going to give us 7x. And then what did we do previously? You drop down that next part. So the next part that we're dropping down is going to be that plus 21. And then we start that whole process over again, only focusing on that x, or whatever that first term is, right? So that x. So x and that 7x. So x times what is going to get us to 7x? 7, right? A positive 7. So we're going to write a positive 7. And then now we're going to multiply these, right? 7 times x is going to give us 7x. 7 times 3 is going to give us a positive 21. When we're doing long division, we subtract. 7x minus 7x is 0. 21 minus 21 is going to give us 0. So we don't have a remainder, right? So our quotient, our answer, is going to be the x plus 7. If you wanted to check this, x plus 7 times x plus 3, guess what that's going to equal? It's going to equal your dividend, x squared plus 10x plus 21. All right. So, and we'll get into every one of these when we kind of go through. You want to make sure that both of these are in descending order, so like in that standard form, so from your highest degree down to your lowest degree, and you want to make sure that everything is covered. So I started with an x squared, so I want to go down by 1, which would be my x. When I go down by 1, it's just going to be the whole number. So you want to make sure that every degree is covered going through. All right, so let's try another one. Let's go with, so let's say I wrote it all scrambly. So I'm going to give you 4 minus 5x minus x squared plus 6x to the third. And we're going to divide that by 3x minus 2, right? So we know just by looking at this, this is our divisor that goes on the outside. This is our dividend that goes on the inside, and we got to find the quotient. So, but before I write this into my dividend, I want to make sure that I'm going from highest to lowest. So I want to be in that standard form. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite that. So I'm going to rewrite it as 6x to the third minus x squared minus 5x plus 4. And then I'm just going to write it divide by 3x minus 2. I'm just going to rewrite the whole entire problem, right? All right. So what are we going to put on the outside? Around the outside, around the outside. 3x minus 2. And then what's going to go on the inside? That whole thing, 6x to the third. Since I have a third, do I have a square? Yep, minus x squared. Now that I got x squared, do I have x to the first power? Sure do, minus 5x. Do I have no x? I do, I have plus 4, right? So again, we're going to focus on those first terms. So I have 3x, and I need to get to 6x to the third. So I go number to number and variable to variable. So from 3 to 6, what do I need? I need to times that by 2. And then I'm at x, but I need to get x to the third, so I still need a x squared. Right? So now I'm going to take this guy, and I got to share with both. And that's the other big mistake, is not sharing with everything. Sharing is caring, and we are a sharing group, so we got to make sure we share with everybody. So 2x squared times 3x is going to give me 6x to the third. And then I'm going to 2x squared times a negative 2 is going to give me a negative 4x squared. I want to subtract these. My goal always is for these guys to cancel each other out, right? And they do. So then now I have, and this is where we got to be careful with our mathematics, right? We have negative 1 minus a 4. So negative 1 minus a negative 4, that's going to become a positive, right? So it's going to be negative 1 plus 4, which is going to give us 3x squared. We're going to drop down the next piece, so minus 5x. And if you wanted to, you could drop it all down, right? It's up to you. So here we are again. We got 3x, looking at those first terms, and we want to get to 3x squared. So what do we need to multiply 3x by? You said it, a positive x, right? So I'm going to take my x, and I'm going to share with everybody. X times 3x is 3x squared. X times negative 2 is negative 2x. What am I doing? I'm subtracting these. My first set hopefully cancel, and they do. So now I have negative 5 minus a negative 2. So that's going to be a negative 5 plus 2, which is going to give me a negative 3x. And then I still get one more guy to drop down. Still get my positive 4 to drop down. And we're going to do the same thing again. Looking at my first terms, I'm at 3x. I need to get to negative 3x. So that means I'm going to multiply by a negative 1. Multiply this out, I get a negative 3x. Negative 1 times negative 2 is going to give me a positive 2. Oops, why does that do that sometimes? Positive 2. Well, what am I going to do? I'm going to be subtracting these. I'm going to throw that out there just so it doesn't look like one big long one. Alright, so now I have negative 3 minus a negative 3. Those are going to cancel. And then I have 4 minus 2, which is going to be 2. So that 2 ends up being my remainder. Right? And then we can, since that's a positive 2, so it would be like plus 2 over 3x minus 2. All right. So I have a, and then that would be our final answer, right? Right there. Let me give you one more. So we did one that was nice and clean with no remainder. We did this one where our polynomial to start off with, our dividend was not in standard form from highest to lowest, so we got that one straightened out. And then the other example I just wanted to show you guys was one that looks something like this. So let's say we have, let me find one. Yeah, this will work. Let's go with 6x to the 4th plus 5x to the 3rd plus 3x minus 5. I'm going to put a little line there. 3x squared minus 2x. So what does that line mean? It means division, right? It's the same thing as dividing. So on this, same concept as before. The top part is our dividend. And the bottom, or our numerator, is the divisor, right? So when we go to write this out, what's on the outside? Our divisor is the part that's on the outside. So we would have 3x squared minus 2x. And then on our inside would be our dividend. So we just need to be careful. Is it going from highest to lowest degree? It is. So we have 6x to the 4th. Do we have a third? We do. So plus 5x to the 3rd. Do we have a square? The square is missing. So how do we write it when it doesn't exist? Yeah, plus 0x squared, right? We want to keep that spot there. So you'll see in a minute why. All right. Do we have an x? We do. We have 3 of them. And then we have our minus 5. All right? All right. Here we go. We got 3x squared. We want to get to 6x to the 4th. Numbers to numbers. So I'm going to multiply by a 2 to get my 6. And I also need my x squared in order to get to x to the 4th. I'm going to make sure I multiply both of these. So I'm going to get 6x to the 4th minus 4x to the 3rd. I gotta subtract these dogs. So now I have 5 minus a negative 4, which is going to be a positive. So now I have 9x to the 3rd. And I'm going to drop down that positive 0x squared. Right? So my next job, 3x squared, I have to get to 9x to the 3rd. So numbers to numbers, I know that I need a positive 3 and x squared to x to the 3rd. I still need an x. I'm multiplying this guy, making sure I multiply by both of those. So I'm going to get 9x to the 3rd minus 6x squared. What am I going to do? I'm going to subtract these guys. So now I have 0 minus a negative 6, because our, right, well, these guys are going to cancel, right? So then now I have 0 minus negative 6, which is going to be a positive 6x squared. Drop down my 3x, right? Looking, 3x squared to 6x squared, what do I need? I need a positive 2. I almost wrote a 3. Positive 2, right? Multiply 2 by both of these guys, making sure we're sharing with everybody. And we get 6x squared minus 4x. What am I going to do with these guys? I'm going to subtract them. These guys are going to cancel each other out. Right? So now I have 3 minus a negative 4, so it's going to be 3 plus 4, which is going to give me 7x, and I got to drop down the negative 5. So again, I'm going to start with my first term, 3x squared, and I need to multiply to get to 7x, and I can't, right? I'm already at x squared, so I can't get down to x to the 1st. So that becomes my remainder. So, and it's positive, so it's going to be plus 7x minus 5 divided by our divisor, 3x squared minus 2x. And that, my friends, is our final answer. All right? So take these slow. Don't rush through them. You can check your answers. Biggest mistake is when it comes to either making sure that you have all of your degrees going down and that they are in descending order from highest to lowest, and the other mistake is making sure you're carrying this negative through everything. All right? Let me know if you need anything.